Lewis. This is Ground Zero. I want to just open Dave King's microphone for a moment. He's my producer, and he's on with us tonight. Dave, can you come on a minute and tell me a little bit about what you just reported to me in the break?
Well, this is from one of our news guys here at the station, and we're getting reports that we had 3 earthquakes, not one, but rather 3 in southeast Portland tonight. Looks like the reports are from the USGS around OMSI out to about 30th and Division there in southeast Portland. The first one at 8:49 tonight, and the last one at 9:56.
Wow. That's amazing. Did the USGS give the Richter scale readings yet?
Have not seen that just yet, but I'll double check here and get back to you.
You know, what's funny is that when I was in the studio preparing stuff, I felt the building shake a little bit. I thought maybe, you know, it was just something like, you know, somebody was working in the next room, because I was in the area, the old area of the station.
Sure.
And working in that area, general area, and I was feeling some tremors. But I didn't feel the one around 10, but I certainly felt the earlier ones. So.
Yeah, I didn't feel anything either, so
wow.
I was likely in the shower during the first one. So.
All right, we'll keep you updated on the earthquakes here in Portland. Maybe hopefully not before shocks. That'd be really sad. Anyway, we'll keep you updated right here on News Radio 101 FM KXL about the earthquakes, 3 of them tonight in Portland. The numbers to call 503-417-7575 or 1-800-827-0750. Tonight on the show, Doug Dietrich is with me, and we're talking about the secret Soviet space program.
Right.
And we got some other things we want to play tonight. What we have, this is kind of taken from the Reader's Digest report that happened, where they were saying that there was possibly a spaceship that had been hovering, going through Earth, or going in Earth's orbit, and then going towards the sun. And there was just an SOS that was being sent, and every once in a while they would pick up this faint SOS. And so what you're going to hear now is the SOS being sent by this Russian spacecraft. Go ahead. There you have it. It's an SOS call. It's basically the report is that it is a capsule that has been lost in space for some time now, for nearly 50 years. And every once in a while, this is a rumor that NASA picks up this distress call, and they pick it up every once in a while. I wonder, is there any truth to that? I mean, that just seems so bizarre. They have that recorded.
No, I think that's absolutely true, because what would happen would be, as I said, due to the higher level of maneuverability that the Americans had, they would just nudge some of these Soviet capsules out of orbit, and they're literally stuck on a trajectory that'll take them ultimately to the sun. It'll take them years and years and years to get there. The Cosmonaut is long dead, but the automatic SOS signal will probably be taking so little battery juice that can go on for years until the battery dies off. More than likely, some of the Soviets, they did crazy things with little chunks of plutonium that conceivably could have like a bit of a nuclear charge in some of what they were playing with, just like Skylab had nuclear crap on board. You had a reactor on board that did a lot of environmental damage that's never spoken of when that fell to Earth, and that was an American piece of gear. So you can just imagine what the Soviets were playing with. That could be going on to SOS signal until it literally goes into the sun.
Oh my gosh! I mean, it's like they talked about the Cassini spacecraft, and it was going overhead. They were worried that, if an engine fell off or something, we would have the nuclear disaster to worry about. And now they're thinking about firing it into Saturn. They're thinking about just letting it go into Saturn and exploding. That may even ignite. Well, that's rumored that it would ignite Saturn and make it another sun.
No, a lot of times they were, because the sun itself is a nuclear furnace, and also a gas giant like Saturn is so enormous that wouldn't happen. That's the chain reaction that it would take to get that started would be just impossible. They're not so much frustrated or retarded stars, the gas giants, as they are a peculiar kind of stellar phenomena all unto themselves.
But what if the fusion was inside? I mean, I hear that when Cassini's finished, this is going to penetrate the middle of the planet, and then it explodes with all that nuclear fusion. I mean, what are the chances of it igniting it temporarily and having it die out immediately?
Oh, well, I'm sure it might ignite within the hyper volatile atmosphere of a gas giant. A gas giant is mostly nothing but atmosphere. So that's entirely conceivable, but in the center of all of that crushing pressure of those atmospheres of Jupiter and Saturn are supposed to be like very minute, compacted cores of some kind of metallic substance that is like an Earth without any life on it, of course. So I doubt anything would happen from that. But
so you know nothing of the Lucifer Project?
Oh, well, that I've heard about. Yes, that was written about in science fiction stories first, and I'm sure that those science fiction stories were invited by actual, were inspired by actual proposals. And the Soviets, in particular, had ideas like that because to the Soviets, nature is nothing more than a malleable clay to be worked on for the purpose of socialist man and his purposes, his evolution. But yes, I've heard vaguely of it. I'm sure you could tell us more. But yes, it's about turning the gas giant into a star. An absurd idea, J. June, but
yeah, J. June, or don't bother Europa, that kind of thing.
Right.
Two suns in the sky. That's what they've been wanting for some time. It's called the Lucifer Project, and they've been saying it's been a secret plan by the occult aspects of NASA to ignite a sun in the sky so that we have two suns, that we become a binary star system or a binary solar system.
Well, we may be a binary solar system because most solar systems are binary. We may have a brown dwarf very far out in orbit that we have not detected yet that would be creating perturbations that result in these massive amounts of asteroids that come our way.
And earthquakes, too.
Yeah,
these things cause earthquakes.
Conceivably, but definitely the asteroids usually tend to come our way with monotonous regularity every so many millions of years, and I can't imagine that they would be doing so without some kind of cyclic catalyst. And that's what that brown dwarf or gas giant way out in the Kuiper Belt might represent. But but the idea of two suns in the sky, that's the last thing we need right now, and it would be impossible to produce. But it does remind me of the vast projects that I dealt with that concern space programs that are secret, that involve warfare. When I was in Iraq as a civilian, I got there in April of 1988. I was a commercial illustrator, and when I worked at the Presidio military base, I was invited by the editor of the Star Presidian because he saw my illustrations. He said, well, San Francisco, because the United Nations was founded here, is one of the cities besides New York that has consulates. Embassies are in Washington, D.C., but New York, because of the United Nations, and San Francisco, because of the United Nations being founded there, they have consulates. So he took me to the Iraqi consulate, and I was paid because they were sweating in oil money to go to Iraq and design propaganda posters against the Iranians, who they were at war with. While I was there, Gerald Bull was there, and Gerald Bull was a Canadian. His name begins with G, and last name is spelled just like the animal, B-U-L-L. And he was designing the guns of Babylon. These were these huge guns. They were called HARP guns, and they have nothing to do with HARP in Gakona, Alaska, which stands for High Frequency Activated Auroral Atmospheric Resonance Research Projection Program. They simply stood for High Altitude Recoilless Projectile. And he was part of a large Canadian aerospace industry that had been in competition with the U.S. for years. And he was so threatening to the U.S. dominance of space, they put him in jail for 6 months. The Americans did when he happened to be working in South Africa. And when he got loose, his reputation was such that he couldn't work for an established industry, so he went to work for Saddam Hussein. And these were 1,000-millimeter bores with a range of over 600 miles, and they had 512-foot barrels that were built in 26 sections that were built in England and smuggled to Iraq as parts of oil pipeline. And they were able to put satellites into orbit. And
so they're just firing from the gun satellites into orbit. It's amazing.
Yeah, because the satellites were cushioned within a liquid gel that enabled the shell to have them survive that level of concussion while they were being launched. He had actually started these in Canada, and theoretically, if, like in the movie The Abyss, if you get somebody with unoxygenated blood and you cushion them with enough liquid, you could send them up like that.
That's interesting to note, and I'll put that down because I know something I've heard from someone about that very thing.
Fantastic.
Coming up, we're going to be hearing two more of these recordings. One is the failed moon landing that happened with the Soviet Union, and the first woman in space dying as she's coming back from space. Interesting stuff with Doug Dietrich. A reminder tonight, Portland experienced some earthquakes. I got word it's 2.2 and 2.1. We're on the Richter scale. Small, I know, but we feel them here because of how we are sitting on a volcanically active place. So tonight on Ground Zero, the earthquakes, another thing to think about. Some fascinating stuff going on in our world. 503-417-7575 or 1-800-827-0750. We'll be back with more. Keep it here on Ground